What's up, everybody? It's your boy B Mac, and I'm here with.
Hey everybody, I'm Maya and I'm about to pull up.
Let's get right into it. Now, you have been in the game for a while. This is your 13th studio album. What keeps driving you?
Well, this is my 13th studio project, ninth studio album. I have a couple EPs in there.
Okay.
But the passion and love for music has always been the driving force. What I felt at 4 years old in church, watching my father sing with a live band, it has always been the common thread with me, just being able to keep going and keep hustling and grinding and making music. I really love music and harmony and melody at the end of the day. And that's it.
I've been checking out your IG. You've been pushing, you want to bring that sound back, that slow jams feel. Why did you want to bring that back, and do you feel like that's missing in today's R&B?
I wanted to bring slow jams to the forefront in my projects. Number one, my roots are R&B. My first single was a mid slow tempo R&B song. And I'm a woman now. I was a kid when I first started as a teenager. And I would say on mainstream radio, you do have a lack of R&B present, but that doesn't mean R&B is dead. And a lot of the format on radio is more club. And so a lot of my fans grew up with me and are of age. They're getting married, they're making babies, and that's what they've requested from me. So
Definitely.
I wanted to make sure that I gave them a project or a full course meal full of R&B on this next upcoming project.
The singles you've been putting out is great. Speak about the new single that you recently released.
Well, the new single is called You Got Me.
Okay.
I dropped it on the 20th anniversary of my debut single, It's All About Me, featuring Cisco, which came out in 1998.
What's that?
Yeah, that was inspired by Valentine's Day and Something for the Lovers. I specifically crafted that song for the lovers.
Now, I want to touch on the single that you have out now called You Got Me. It's a dope single, gives that old school vibe. But I gotta ask for all the fellas watching, does somebody have Maya?
Yes, someone has Maya, and that person is not a man. That person is me.
Nobody really knows what Maya looks for in a man. Like, what's the best way to approach you? What are some things you look at?
It's ever changing. As I grow, I don't look. I think when I was coming up, because it's natural to, have a boyfriend or feel valid if you do, or you're taken by someone, or kept in wifey material, you fall into these types of perceived stigmas or projections that people place onto you at certain timelines in your life. And I had to step out of that and really just work on myself. So I'm not looking, but I like the full package because that's what I intend on bringing to the
Hey,
table.
now, hold on. I feel you. I feel you.
You know?
Definitely, absolutely, absolutely. Now, you touched on your diet. It's no secret you're a vegan. How hard is that being on the road? Like, how are you able to stay consistent with that? And how are you able to stay healthy?
Seasoning is very important.
Okay.
If something doesn't taste good, and usually veganism is associated with foods that are bland or raw and don't taste good, that's a lie. And so I've given myself permission to play and to cook in the kitchen and serve friends and family and figure it out just over like almost 5 years now, and treat myself to junk food here and there because it is a challenge when you were not raised this way. But it is fun and it is very delicious and it's very rewarding
Okay.
in many ways.
You're definitely gonna have to give me help. I can't give up my chicken and pork, but I've been trying. So I'm glad now I got some motivation to look out for. You have seen the ins and outs. You've gone through trials and tribulations. What advice would you give to the young Maya that came out in 1998?
The advice that I would give to the young Maya that came out in 1998, good question. I'd say in an ever-changing world with ever-changing trends, standards, rules, pieces of validation, to always define everything for yourself, beauty, success, what your life, what you would like your life to look like.
Yeah.
And model your life and your decisions based on what you want, not what other people want for you. It can be very tricky for a young girl to try to figure herself out in this world of so many different and ever-changing definitions and standards. And it's very hard to fit into those things. And they're always changing. And you also change and evolve with that. So hold on to who you are, get to know who you are, spend time with yourself. There is no rush you need to be in. Allow yourself to make mistakes, but learn how to define. Look outside of the box, question everything, and then create your model for your life because it's just yours.